I'm not ashamed.
Where in the tabernacle would the Ark of the Covenant be placed? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Exodus on walking through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Exodus 26. We're going to be reading from verses 26 to 37. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Exodus 26, beginning at verse 26. And you shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on the one side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 boards for the boards of the side of the tabernacle, for the far side westward. The middle bar shall pass through the midst of the boards from one end to end. You shall overlay the boards with gold, make their rings of gold as holders for the bars, and overlay the bars with gold. And you shall raise up the tabernacle according to its pattern, which you were shown on the mountain. You shall make a veil woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. It shall be woven with an artistic design of cherubim. You shall hang it upon the 4 pillars of acacia wood, overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be gold upon 4 sockets of silver. And you shall hang the veil from the clasps. Then you shall bring the ark of the testimony in there behind the veil. The veil shall be a divider for you between the holy place and the most holy. You shall put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy. You shall set the table outside the veil, and the lampstand across on the table on the side of the tabernacle towards the south, and you shall put the table on the north side. You shall make a screen for the door of the tabernacle, woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen made by a weaver. And you shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. Their hooks shall be gold, and you shall cast 5 sockets of bronze for them. In chapter 26, we've been discussing the building of the tabernacle. The word tabernacle means to dwell or dwelling place. In this case, the tabernacle is the dwelling place of Jehovah. Now, as we've said in other episodes, having a tabernacle on earth didn't mean that God left heaven and exclusively dwelt on earth, for Paul would later say that God does not dwell in temples made with hands. But it does mean that the tabernacle, which would contain the Ark of the Covenant, was where God would meet Moses and later the high priest. So far, we've discussed the making of the 4 coverings for the tabernacle, and then in the last episode, we discussed the making of the frame of the tabernacle. Now, I have to admit, upon reading this chapter, it is highly confusing to me as to what the tabernacle looked like, so we will be using a picture to assist us in visualizing this. Note, I am not saying that the artist's rendering is exactly correct, but it will help us for our purposes. In today's reading, we have the instructions for the completion of the tabernacle, as well as where the holy items that were discussed in chapter 25 would be placed. The way the tabernacle was built, it was to be a solid structure. However, to help it make it more solid, bars of acacia wood were made, 5 for each of the north, south, and west sides of the tabernacle. The middle bar would pass from end to end, meaning the whole length of the side. Whether this meant that the other bars were shorter in length, we're unsure. Our picture doesn't conclude such, but others conclude that perhaps the other 4 bars were half the length of the middle bar, with 2 supporting one half of the side, while the other 2 support the other half of the side. Whichever is true is immaterial. We don't have to build a tabernacle today. At any rate, though, the Hebrews knew, for they built it. The bars would be attached through rings attached to the boards. What these bars would do is prevent the boards separating from each other and weakening the structure. The boards, their rings, and the bars were overlaid with gold before they were put together. Following the erection of the tabernacle, a veil was to be placed inside. The veil was to be woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. It was also to be woven with an artistic design of cherubim. If this sounds familiar, it should, for it is the exact same design as the inner covering of the tabernacle. It was to be hung upon 4 pillars of acacia wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks were to be of gold upon 4 sockets of silver. Verse 33 says that the veil was to be hung from the clasps. Since verse 32 says that the veil was to be hung from the 4 pillars, what verse 33 must be denoting is where the veil was hung, which was directly underneath the clasps that joined the 2 pieces of the innermost covering together all the way back in verse 6. If this is true, then the section of the tabernacle behind the veil would measure 15 feet by 15 feet, while the section of the tabernacle in front of the veil would measure 30 feet by 15 feet. Again, should this be true, the ratio of these dimensions would later match that of Solomon's temple found in 1 Kings 6, 16, and 17. The Ark of the Covenant was to be brought behind the veil and placed there. The mercy seat would be found on top of the ark, as described in chapter 25. The veil would serve as a dividing point between the holy place, the part of the tabernacle in front of the veil, and the most holy place, sometimes called the Holy of Holies, the place where God would meet Moses and later the high priest above the mercy seat. The table for the showbread would be placed in the holy place outside the veil on the north side of the tabernacle, while the golden candlestick would be placed on the opposite side on the south side of the tabernacle. The final piece that needed to be completed was the front of the tabernacle, the east side, for it would be made a screen for a door, woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. The difference between this screen and the veil of the temple was the lack of cherubim on this front screen. It was to be hung on 5 pillars of acacia wood that were overlaid with gold. The hooks for the screen were to be gold, while the sockets were to be made of bronze. So as you can see, the tabernacle of God was an elaborate building in which a lot of time, precision, and effort was required in order to build it. But it was the house of God for the Hebrews, and as such, attention to detail was required if they were to be pleasing to God. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Exodus 27, verses 1 to 8, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
I'm not ashamed.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.
Of his cross.